Okay,
Okay,
hello
hello
everyone.
everyone.
So
So
let's
let's
start
start
now.
now.
I'll give
I'll
you a
give you a
briefing on
briefing
the
on the
IoT
IoT
Academy
Academy
first.
first.
So
So
it's
it's
basically an
basically an
edtech
edtech
training
training
partner
partner
and it's
and
as
it's
a
as a
parental
parental
company
company
Uniconverse
Uniconverse
Technologies
Technologies
Private
Private
Limited.
Limited.
Okay.
Okay.
So we
So we
provide
provide
both
both
online and
online and
offline
offline
certification
certification
courses in
courses in
IoT
IoT
embedded
embedded
systems,
systems,
AI,
AI,
machine
machine
learning,
learning,
data
data
science,
science,
Python,
Python,
digital
digital
marketing,
marketing,
and
and
we was
we was
founded in
founded in
2017
2017
based in
based in
Noida.
Noida.
Okay.
Okay.
We
We
offer you
offer you
industry
industry
focused
focused
training
training
for
for
both
both
students,
students,
working
working
professionals,
professionals,
faculties.
faculties,
With
with
we
we
collaborate with
collaborate with
IIT
IIT
Kanpur,
Kanpur,
IIT
IIT
Roorkee,
Roorkee,
and IIT
IIT
Guwahati.
Guwahati.
So,
So,
the
the
company
company
emphasizes on
emphasizes on
hands-on
hands-on
learning
learning
experiences,
experiences,
internships,
internships,
placement
placement
assistance.
assistance.
So, with
So, with
that,
that,
we
we
work on
work
the
on the
real-world
real-world
projects through
projects
our
through our
parent
parent
company,
company,
Unique Converse
Uniconverse
Technologies.
Technologies.
Okay.
Okay.
And with
And with
that,
that,
let's
let's
proceed,
proceed
and
and
I'll
I'll
introduce
introduce
about
about
Abdul
Abdul
sir.
sir.
And he's
And
a
he's a
data
data
professional with
professional with
deep
deep
expertise in
expertise in
data
data
engineering,
engineering,
AI,
AI,
ML.
ML.
With
With
business
business
consulting
consulting
frameworks,
frameworks,
has
has
worked on
worked on
building
building
large-scale
large-scale
data
data
platforms,
platforms,
machine
machine
learning
learning
solutions,
solutions,
real-time
real-time
analytic
analytic
systems,
systems,
while
while
coaching
coaching
professionals on
professionals on
how to
how to
bridge the
bridge the
gap
gap
between
between
data and
data and
business
business
impact.
impact.
Okay.
Okay.
He
He
brings a
brings a
unique
unique
blend of
blend of
technical
technical
mastery and
mastery and
consulting
consulting
mindset,
mindset,
helping
helping
organizations
organizations
move
move
towards
towards
models,
models,
metrics to
metrics to
real
real
world
world
business
business
outcomes.
outcomes.
So
So
he'll be
he'll be
sharing
sharing
insights on
insights on
how
how
data
data
scientists can
scientists can
think like
think like
consultants
consultants
and
and
deliver
deliver
measurable
measurable
impact on
impact on
decision
decision
makers.
makers.
Okay,
Okay.
so
So
let's
let's
proceed. I'll
proceed. I'll
hand
hand
over to
over to
Abdul
Abdul
sir.
sir.
Thank you, Rashmi, for your introduction. Good afternoon, everyone. First thing first, can I? Am I audible?
क्लास 6 मिनिट चालू क्लासचा 6 मिनिट चालू कुठल्या क्लासचा आपला
Is there any? Shivangi, is there? My voice is clear, I guess.
Yes, Abdul, your voice is clear.
So,
Yes, your voice is clear.
yeah. So my name is Abdul Zaid, and I do.
ते बाकीचे रिस्ट्रिक्शन असतील तर बोल.
There is some background noises. Please mute yourself. That will be helpful. Yeah. My name is Abdul Zaid, and I work at the intersection of data, AI, and business consulting. Over the years, I have built a large-scale data platforms, designs AI and ML solutions, and worked with organizations on turning technical outputs into a real business outcomes. But beyond the tech, I'm really passionate about one thing, that is helping data professionals like us go beyond coding and start thinking like a consultant who deliver measurable impacts. Let me ask you this: how many of you have ever proudly presented a model with 90% accuracy, only to see your manager or CEO to look back at you and say, "So what?" Uh, I guess most of you have faced this, right? That's exactly the gap we are here to talk about that today. That is data scientist versus CEO gap. So today's session isn't about the algorithms or metrics. It's about a mindset shift. It's about answering this one question: how does my analysis change a business decision tomorrow morning? If you have ever wondered how to make your work resonate with business leaders, you are in the right place. I'm really excited to welcome you all to today's webinar on business consulting skills for data scientists. Whether you are a student just entering the field, an early career professional, or someone already working with data and looking to sharpen your edge, this session is designed for you. Today is not just about learning a few frameworks or buzzwords. It's about shifting the way we think. As a data scientist, we often fall in love with models and metrics and code. But the consulting but the consulting world asks a bigger just a moment. I guess my screen is not presenting. Just is it visible to everyone now? Yeah.
Yes,
Please
sir,
continue.
it is.
So, as a data scientist, we often fall in love with models, metrics, and code. But the consulting world asks a bigger questions. How does this analysis change a business decision for tomorrow's? That's the mindset we are here to explore. Let's start by acknowledging the gap. In universities and boot camps, we are trained to celebrate accuracy score, RMSE values, or classification reports. But when we walk in a boardroom with CEOs, CFOs, or business leaders, they rarely care about these numbers directly. What they want to know is simple. Should we enter this new market? Will this investment improve profitability? Which customer should we prioritize tomorrow morning? That's where the disconnect often lies. Data scientists speaks the language of models. Business leaders speak the language of impact. This webinar is about building the building that bridge so you are not just a coder or analyst, but a trust advisor. The subtitle of today's session says it all. Think like a consultant, deliver with impact with data. What does that mean? Thinking like consultant means understanding the problem before jumping to the solution. It means asking why does this matter before yes whenever I'm changing presentation. So thinking like a consultant means understanding problem before jumping to the solution. It means asking why does this matter before asking which algorithm should I use. Delivering impact with data means translating technical insights into a business language that influences decisions, inspire actions, and create a measurable outcomes. In other words, it's about turning data into a story that drives changes. Why data scientist needs a consulting skills? Now, let's address the elephant in a room. Why should a data scientist care about the consulting skills? Here is the truth. In most organization, data science project fails. In most data science projects don't fail because the models are bad. They fail and they fail because the problem was not framed correctly. The solution was not aligned with the business priorities. The results were not communicated in a way leaders could act upon it. Consulting skills require like problem structuring, stakeholder management, communication, storytelling. These are the missing links. They ensure that your technical brilliance actually lands with your audience and creates value. Think of it this way. A technically perfect model that no one uses is a wasted effort. A good enough model explained in a right way that delivers $1 million decisions, that's the success. Let me share you a quick example. I'm sorry. A few years ago, a data science team presented to a retail CEO that their customer churn model was 85% accurate. Impressive, right? But the CEO looked puzzled and asked, "So what do I do tomorrow morning to keep my customers?" That's when the team realized the model was great, the communication failed. What if instead they had said, "Our analysis shows 200 high value customers are likely to churn this quarter. If you give your customer support team targeted script and a small retention discount, you could save $300 million in a revenue." Now, this is same model, same accuracy, but now it speaks the language of business impact. That's the shift we are here to master today. Now, over over the next hour, we will cover data scientist versus CEO gap, why it exists and how to bridge it, core consulting skills for data science professionals like problem framing, structuring, and communications. Then how to translate analytics into a business impact with the real world examples. Then practical frameworks you can start using tomorrow to communicate results more effectively. So now let's get started with the first big theme, data scientist versus CEO gap. Why does this gap exist? And what can we do to close it? Let's dive in. This is one of the most common reasons why data science project fails. It's not because the math is wrong or the models are weak. It's because the two groups at the table speaks completely different languages. Think of it like this. One person speaks Python and SQL, other person speaks profit and strategy. Unless we translate the conversation collapse, we are on the back foot. What data scientists focus on? As a data scientist, we are trained to obsess over data cleaning, wrangling, model selection, accuracy metrics like RMSEs, F1 score, or AUC, or a hyperparameter tuning. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's the backbone of our craft. But here's the catch. When you present a CEO and proudly say my model is 92% accurate, you may as well be saying I optimize my code complexity to O and log n. It's technically brilliant, but for them, it does a disconnect. They're asking the questions like, does this help us to grow revenue? Can this reduce cost? What decisions can I make differently tomorrow because of this insight? Right. What's on the other hand, let's put ourselves in a CEO shoes. They used to think on they think about revenue. Are we selling more? Profitability. Are we making money efficiently or not? Risk. What could go wrong? Or a growth strategy. Where do we invest next morning? Notice something? They are technical outputs. They are not technical outputs. They are business outcomes. So when CEO hears RMSEs is down by 0.2, their brain does not go great, right? Their brain goes like, so what? Does this mean we enter a new market? Do we change price? Do we invest more or less? Imagine a data scientist presents, we built a demand forecasting model with 88% accuracy. Okay, it uses XGBoost with optimized parameters and captures seasonality very well. Now, imagine how CEO is gonna hear it. He's gonna hear words like 88%, parameters, seasonality. Okay, but should I increase? But should I increase inventory before Diwali or not? His question will be this. Then there comes a silence. The data scientist is proud and the CEO is frustrated. That silence, that uncomfortable pause, is the gap between data scientist and a CEO or a business leader. So how do we bridge it? So instead of focusing on metrics, frame your results as decisions. Instead of saying forecast accuracy is 88%, we should say our forecast suggests we should stock 20% more units in North India next month to avoid a $5 million stockout risk. Notice the difference? First version was information and second version was your action. And that's what CEOs pay attention to. What action do I take next? I once worked with a financial services team that built a credit risk model. They presented leadership. The AUC is 0.91, which is excellent, right? But leadership did not celebrate that. They asked, so do we approve more loans or fewer? What's the impact on revenue? When the team reframed same and said, if we use this model, we can reduce defaults by 10%, which save us $12 million annually. That takes CEO lean forward. Now again, same model, same math, different framing. That's the power of bridging the gap. So the data scientist versus CEO gap is not about intelligence. It's about perspective. One side is about precision and the other is about impact. Our job as a data professional is to translate precisions into impact. Now, what we have understood, the data scientist versus CEO gap, the natural question is, how do we bridge it? The answer lies in something beyond technical knowledge. It lies in what I call consulting skills for data professionals. These are the skills that transform you from being as being just a data person to being valued as a business partner. Trust me, in today's world, this makes all the difference in your career. Let me make this clear. Most failed data projects are not technical failures. They are consulting failures. Wrong problem frame lead towards your wasted effort. Lack of stakeholder buy-in leads to no adoption of your work. Technical jargon without business translation is just a decision paralysis. Consulting skills are the glue that ensures your work lands, create impact, and gets implemented. Think of it like this. Technical skills build car. Consulting skills ensure the car has a driver and a road to actually go somewhere. Let's talk about the first and most yeah. Now, let's talk about the first and most critical consulting skill for data science professional, that is a problem structuring. In consulting, there is a saying, a well-defined problem is half solved. And yet, many data, data projects fail because we jump straight to data sets and algorithms without fully understanding real business question. Here is the reality. A client or a stakeholder rarely comes to you with a clear and solvable problems. They come with symptoms. Symptoms like our sales are declining. We need AI to improve our customer retention. Our costs are too high. If you take these at a face value, you will be likely building the wrong solution. Problem structuring forces you to ask, what exactly are we solving? Why we are solving? And what does success look like for you? Yeah. So as we have discussed, the consulting skills for data scientists are, we will be discussing about problem structuring, stakeholder management, communication and storytelling, business acumen, and change orientation. Now, the first skill within a problem structuring is clarifying the object, right? Ask simple but a powerful questions. What decisions will this analysis inform? What does success look like? If we do nothing, what happens? Right? These are the simple questions, right? What we do nothing, if we do nothing, what is gonna happen? That is a very powerful questions. For example, stakeholder says build a churn model. Instead of blindly coding, ask what do you want to predict churn? Is it to cost losses or to upsell or to retain a customer? Suddenly the problem becomes sharper. The, the problem becomes how do we reduce high valued customer churn by 15% in the next quarter? Right? Now, in this problem structuring only, the second skill is breaking down the problem. Consultants use MEC, okay, mutually exclusive, collectively exhaustive. So consultants used to sleep and wake up with this concept, MEC. So basically, this MEC, mutually exclusive and collectively exhaustive, this means diving a big messy issue into smaller, non-overlapping buckets that together cover the whole. And one of the best tool here is the issue tree to implement this. Think of it like a decision tree, but for a problems. You start with a big messy question. For example, why sales are declining, and then branch it into a logical, like can be declined on the three factors: one, revenue, then cost, then a market factors. Each branch becomes a hypothesis to test with the data. Instead of boiling the ocean, you now have a structured map that tells you exactly where to focus. This is why consultants sketches issue trees all the time. It's not about being fancy. It's about ensuring no root cause is ignored and no effort is wasted. Now, the third skill is hypothesis driven thinking. Instead of saying, let's see what the data tell us, start with a hypothesis. I believe customer churn is driven by late deliveries. Okay. Or I believe profit margin is declining due to rising supplier cost. Right. Then test these hypotheses with the data. This makes your analysis sharper, faster, and more aligned with business logic. It's how consultant works. They test assumptions, not wander in the dark. Now, the fourth skill in problem structuring is defining scope and constraints. Basically, that means ask early the questions we should ask with the business stakeholders, like what is in scope and what is out, what is the timeline, what resource do we have, and why we need this. We need this to avoid analysis paralysis, the terminology. So if the CEO needs an answer in 3 weeks, don't waste time in designing the most sophisticated deep learning model. A simpler approach that drives timely action is better, right? So to recap, problem structuring is not just about defining a question; it's about shaping the entire projects. Master these, and you will just be a data scientist. You will not be just a data scientist writing a code. You will be a consultant who ensures right problem is solved in the right way for the right impact. Now, second skill is a stakeholder management. Data project does not exist in a vacuum. They exist in organization with multiple people, each with their own agenda. Like for example, finance wants cost savings, marketing wants customer engagement, and IT wants scalability and security. Your job is not just to churn numbers, but to align all these perspectives. Sometimes that means listening more than talking. Sometimes it means translating technical risk into a business risk. Consultants excel at this because they know a project succeed not when the math is correct, but when the stakeholders support it. Right. So that's why stakeholder management is one of the primary skills every consultant needs to have. Now, the third consulting skill, and arguably the most important, is communication and storytelling. Here is the brutal truth. If you can't communicate your results in the way that drives action, your analysis does not matter. Right? Storytelling means moving from here is the data to here it what it means. From here is what it means to here is what we should do next. For example, instead of showing a confusion matrix, tell a story. Story is like, this model identifies 500 risky loans. Acting on this could save $10 million in defaults. Now, great consultant uses pyramid principle that start with conclusion, then providing supporting evidence. CEO does not CEOs don't want to dig through slides. They want the headlines and actions to point out. Right. So to get more deeper, the last skill we will be discussing in consultancy, that is a business acumen. You don't need an MBA, but you do need to understand how companies make a money. Basic finance metrics like revenue, margin, ROI, the client's industry context. What is the context of their industry, right? This allows you to frame your analysis in the language of the business. For instance, instead of saying precision improved by 5%, say This could reduce customer acquisition cost by 15%. See the difference? One speaks statistics, the other speaks strategy. Now, the final skill is change orientation. Consultants know that no matter how good the analysis, it's useless unless people actually adopt it. This means thinking about implementation from the start, designing your solution that are simple enough for teams to use, rather than creating a complicated results. Preparing for resistance and showing value quickly. As a data science professional, you are you're not just building models, you're driving changes in how decisions are made. So now to recap the 5 core consulting skills for data professionals we have discussed till now. First is problem structuring, then stakeholder management, then we took communication and storytelling, then business acumen, and then change of orientation. Once we have mastered these, then we stop being just a coder of models and we become uh, a trusted advisor. Now, in the next part of this, we will take this one step further and how do we translate analytics into a real business impact? That's where the real magic happens. Up until now, we have talked about the gap between data scientists and CEOs and the consulting skills that help bridge it. But let's address the golden question. How do we actually turn analytics into a real business impact? Because at the end of the day, no matter how beautiful your model is, if it does not influence a decision, change behavior, or move the needle on business outcome, it's just an academic exercise. The first thing to understand is the chain of translation, and change of translation is from insight to action to outcome. When we say insight, that means what the data says. When we say action, that means what decisions or step we recommend. And then we make an outcome that basically means what business results that create. Many data teams stop at insight. Example, customer churn rate is 15%. That's interesting, but not impactful. Translated in this fashion, if we offer targeted retention discounted to top 200 high valued customer, we could prevent $3 million in a lost revenue. Now we have moved from insight, action, then to outcome. When we translate customer churn rate is 15%, and we translate it and say if we offer targeted retention discounts to the top 200 high valued customer, we could prevent $3 million in a lost revenue. Now, what are the methods? One of the best way to translate analytics to express results in a business matrix, a business matrix, not a data matrix, is this. Instead of we say model precision improved by 5%, we will be saying this improvement reduces false approvals, saving $2 million annually in a fraud losses. Or instead of we say forecast error decreased by 10%, we will be saying this let us cut excess inventory by 15% and freeing $8 million in a working capital. Now, when you tie every technical results to a business KPI like revenue, cost, margin, and customer satisfaction, your audience immediately sees the value. Now, one of the other ways, tell stories, not just statistics. Number convinces the mind, but the story moves the heart. Consultant use storytelling to make analytical memorable. Instead of showing chart of customers churn probabilities, you could say, meet Ramesh. He's been a loyal customer for 5 years, but recently his engagement dropped. Our model identify him as a high risk. If 200 people like Ramesh leave, that basically means 300 million loss. But if we intervene now with a loyalty offer, we can keep him. and the $1,500 lifetime value he brings to us. Now, suddenly the CEO does not see the churn. They feel it. That's the impact, the way you are translating it, right? Now, next is providing clear recommendation. Another common failure in analytics is ending with here are the results. Business leader do not want just results. They want recommendation. Don't stop at our forecast suggest demand will rise 20%. Go further and suggest like this. We recommend increasing production by 15% in North India to avoid stockouts worth rupees $5 million. Now, here you will see the difference. The first is a descriptive, the second is perspective. It tells them exactly what to do next. The rule is simple, always answers the CEO's silent question, so what? Now, the last methodology is quantify value and prioritize impact. Leader faces hundreds of competing priorities. If you want your analytics to be acted on, you must show value at stake. Ask questions like how much money could this save? How much revenue could this generate? What risk could this avoid? And then prioritize it. For example, a model might predict small operation inefficiencies worth 50 $50,000, okay, and another identifies churn risk worth of $5 million. Which one should leadership care about? By quantifying impact, you help leaders to focus on the biggest levers. Let me share an example. A telecom company built a model predicting customer churn. Okay. Initially, they reported our churn prediction accuracy is 87%. 87%. Leadership was unimpressed. When the same thing is reframed in the story becomes we identify 10,000 high value customers likely to churn. By targeting them to a $20 retention offer, we can save up to $50 million in an annual revenue. Again, the same model, same accuracy, but the translation into a business term got the leadership to immediately fund the retention program rather than just being being into the words. That's the difference between analytics that sits in a report and analytics that drives the impact. So to recap, analytics into impact requires four steps. Speak in a business metrics, use stories, not just statistics, provide clear communications, quantify and prioritize the value at stake. This is how you make sure your work does not end at PowerPoint slide. It shapes real business decisions. In short, insight without impact is totally wasted. As a data professionals, our responsibility is not just to analyze data, but to ensure it creates measurable outcomes. And now in the final section of this webinar, we will look at a practical frameworks and tools you can use tomorrow consistently, con- uh, use tomorrow to consistently deliver this kind of impact. We have talked about the gap, consulting skills, and how to translate analytics into an impact. But you might be thinking, okay, this all sounds great, but what do I actually do differently in my next presentation or client meeting? That's where these practical framework come in. Today I will share four frameworks you can use tomorrow morning to make your communication sharper, clearer, and more precise. First framework is the pyramid principle, which is famously used by McKinsey's consultants. The idea is simple: start with an answer, then support it. For example, we will start with, we recommend cutting delivery times by 20% to save 5 million annually. Then show the supporting logic. Supporting logic will be customer complaints, logistic analysis, and a financial impact. This is powerful because executive always think top to down. They want to see first a summary, then they want to drill down towards the cause, right? They want the headline first and then the details later. So next time you present, flip your structure, answer upfront, then data, then evidence. Now, the second framework is SCQA, situation, complication, question, and answer. It's a storytelling structure for data insights. So first, we used to create a situation where we set the context. For example, we will set the context. Sales have been growing steadily for 3 years. Now, then comes the complications, where we highlight the challenge, where the challenge is, but in the last quarter, growth slowed down by 15%. Now we we come on the question where we used to raise the critical issues. Now here the question is why growth is slowing. Then we used to give an answer. Answers are the deliver within insights. So we used to give an answer. Our analysis shows that customer churn in tier 2 cities is rising due to late deliveries. This structure guides the audience step by step. It's intuitive, logical, and keeps them engaged from situation to answer. Now, for the framework, now we have a third framework, the so what. Right? Every time you share a number, ask yourself, so what? Why does this matter to the business? For example, you gave the inaccuracy 92%. So what? So you have to give an answer that this allow us to cut fraud by 30%. Or when you share forecast error is reduced by forecast error is 10%. So what does this mean in business language? That means we freed up $8 million in working capital. This habit ensures you never stop at statistics. You always land on an impact. It's simple, but if you practice it, your communication style will transform. Now now the final framework is the 3-layer message. Tailoring your communication to a different audience. Think of your message in a three layers: executive summary, one slide, one takeaway, and action oriented. It should be. Then there is a managerial insight that is for business leads. It should have key drivers, financial impacts, and options. Then you have a third layer that is a technical appendix that is for your peers and engineers. That should be a detailed models, assumptions, and data. This way, everyone gets what they need without drowning in irrelevant details. If you only prepare one version, you risk losing a part of your audience. But the layered messaging helps you to win everyone. So the 4 practical frameworks you can use tomorrow is pyramid principle, start with an answers, SCQA, tell the story logically, so what, tie data to an impact always, 3-layer message, tailor to your all audience. With these, your presentation will no longer be just charts and models. They will be clear, compiling stories that drive actions. And and that brings us full circle from technical accuracy to a business impact. And now to a practical communication framework. Now, let's solve this together. Imagine you are a data science team at retail company and the CEO calls you and says, our profit have dropped 15% in the last 2 quarters. Can you use analytics to figure it out? So let's start. I guess everyone can text, right? So when as a CEO, I ask you all, our profits have dropped 15% in the last 2 quarters. Can you use analytics to figure out why? What's the first thing you would do as a data scientist? Everyone can write. As a data scientist, what is the first thing you will do? Okay, as Harsh is saying, look into sales volume. Is everyone with me here? Marketing and sales analysis. Okay. Please, everyone, type whatever you can think of as a data scientist. Okay, analyze the reason and suggest the improvement. But okay, the three people have answered. Okay, these are the great ideas as a data scientist. But you remember there is one thing we discussed. Instead of jumping straight into the data, let's structure the problem first. We have discussed this. Here to structure this problem, we will we use an issue tree. So here's a question first of all. The question from the CEO was, why our profits are declining? And the three reasons can be that is cause of revenues, cost, or competition. Right? Now, revenues can happen cause of sales volume or price pressure. Cost can happen cause of supply chain or marketing spend. There is a high cost. Okay, and the competition is basically cause of there are the new entrants are coming up or a price undercuts is happening, right? So according to you, from revenue, cost, or competition, what do you think is the most likely the culprit for falling this profit? Anyone can try. You guys can raise your hand. Uh, Shivangi will just unmute you so we can have a. Let's keep this session interactive. Okay, just don't be like have joined.
I have unmuted everyone. You can just open your mic and speak.
Okay. Cost is rare if it happens out of a sudden lack of awareness in marketing team, competition, and revenue. Okay. So now we will test each branch with the analytics. Okay. When we do an revenue analysis, sales volume steady, but margins is shrinking, right? That basically means average discount per unit up is 12%. Then we did a cost analysis and we see that transportation cost is being increased by 18%. That means from wherever earlier the transportation cost which was about $10 million, now it has been $11.8 million. And then we do a competition analysis. So we see that in tier 2 cities, churn rate has been 20%, which was earlier 10%. Right. So the insights from this is profits are declining because of cost are rising and how high value customers are churning out. Okay. So these questions are basically most of the time means guesstimates, right? Now, looking at this data, what do you think are the top two drivers of the profit decline now? Whatever I told you right now. we have discussed revenue analysis, that is sales volume is steady, but margins is shrinking. Average discount per unit has been gone up to 12%. Cost analysis we did, and after doing a cost analysis, we got to know transportation cost has been increased by 18%. Then a competition analysis we did. In competition analysis, we got to know in tier 2 cities, churn rate has gone to from 10% to 12%. Should have an agreement with supply chain vendors for predictability, including transportation too. Definitely. So basically, the biggest issues after doing these analysis, we got to know that supply chain cost and customer churn rate will be the two factors which is affecting the most on profit, right? So now instead of reporting technical results, we will translate into a business language. Rather than saying once we have done all analysis and create a model and our model has 87% accuracy, now we will be saying instead of like our churn model has 87% accuracy, we will say that 10,000 high value customers are at risk, and that risk is gonna be resultant to 50 million potential loss. And rather than saying forecast error improved by 12%, we will be saying excess inventory can be reduced by 15%, which will free up 8 million working capital. Now, we have learned few frameworks, right? These are the practical frameworks we have worked. So now using all these frameworks, we will try to solve this case study, right? So now first using pyramid principle. So we will first answer profit is falling due to churn and cost. Okay. And fixing this is gonna save us 60 million annually. What is the supporting points? That churn is gonna the churning have 50 million risk and the cost is having 10 million risk. What was the evidence after what was the evidence on which we came to this conclusion? The evidence was using churn model and a cost analysis. That was the first framework we have used. That is the pyramid principle, where we start with an answer, then we give a supporting points, then we give an evidence for that answer. Now using SCQA, situation was profit was stable for 3 years. Complication happened a 15% decline in last 2 quarter years. The question was why? And the answer was churn plus rising supply chain cost. Now using third 3-layer message, we will say CEO is we are gonna deliver CEO that it's gonna save $60 million. And we are gonna tell managerials that regional churn plus cost breakdown analysis. And for the data teams, we will be showing model accuracy and assumptions. We don't stop at insights. We give actionable recommendation also. After giving all the insights, we are not gonna stop. We are gonna give an actionable recommendation also there, right? So recommendation first will be launching churn prevention campaign in tier 2 cities. That is using retention program for which is gonna cost $20 per customer, and which will help us to save 50 million revenue. Then we are gonna give second recommendation. We in second recommendation was cause of transportation cost. When we do a cost analysis, we are gonna say we are gonna optimize supply chain routes with a predictive analytics, which will save us 10 million annually. Outcomes will be profit margin can improve 5% and we can recover $60 million in a value. This case study shows how we avoid the DS versus CEO gap by thinking in a business terms. We use consulting skills like problem structuring, stakeholder management, and storytelling. Then we applied the frameworks, which was pyramid, SCQA, and 3-layer messaging to communicate very clearly. And most importantly, then we translated analytics into a real business impact. And in real business impact here was recovering $60 million value. That's the mind shift I want you to live with today. Don't just being sorry. Don't just be the person who builds model. Be the person who drive changes. So before we wrap up today, I want to share you something exciting as well. We have spent the last hour exploring how data science can bridge the gap with business leaders using consulting skills and deliver real impact. But I guess one session is just a beginning. To truly master these skills, you need practice, frameworks, and guidance over time. Right? So before we wrap up for the day and we go further to announce something, do you have any queries or you want to discuss? Right? Uh, uh, Let me share you the feedback form as well with you guys in QA. So it will help us to improve and give your suggestions will help us, each one of us. Yeah. Is this form accessible by everyone? Okay. Do anyone have any questions for now? I guess we are with crunch of a time as well. We can take one or two questions, and then you can also connect later on with IoT for more details. And also, we are also excited to announce that we are officially launching our live courses also in business case studies for data science and consultant. It will be a 6-week hands-on program where you will learn how to think like a consultant and frame business problems clearly, translate technical insights into a decision into a decisions that CEO cares about, or work on a real-life case studies, build a portfolio of consulting style solutions that you can showcase in the interviews and on the job. This course is designed for students, early career professionals, and working data scientists who want to move beyond coding into high impact business roles. And yes, it will be a live and interactive and certification based. By the end of this course, you will walk away not just with the knowledge, but with the case studies, frameworks, and consulting skills that top firm values, the kind of skills that can take your career to the next level. And so to wrap up for the day, so if today's session inspired you and your thinking and you want to go deeper into this course will be perfect step for you. Right? For more details, you can have a direct you can say communication with IoT Academy for this. Like, think of today as a spark. The course is where you can turn that spark into a real transformation in your career. And I would be loving to see you, many of you, joining me in this journey. Right? So I guess that's all from my side. And if you have anything, any doubt you want to discuss right now, we can have. So how was the session for everyone? Just I know we have shared your feedback form as well, but just a quick feedback from you guys. So cause I see that there is the gap between the courses these days are provided is of data science, which are just the numbers you are learning. But the end of the day, when you get into a business or consulting firms, because most of the data scientists work in PwC, McKinsey, BAN, BCGX, Protiviti, right, or Deloitte, where these skills are required, and where the people used to get lag behind in the industry to get to the managerial role, where if they have this skills, where they can reach in 2 years, the time taken for them to reach gets from 2 years to 6 years or 5 years, that is almost a 3 years long time, right? Okay, thank you everyone. That's, I guess, if no one is having any queries or doubts, we can wrap up for the day. uh Shivangi, and over to you.
Thank you, Abdul, for your informative insights on this. So, thank you so much, everyone. Let's wrap up this session.
The recording has been stopped. Thank you for joining. Goodbye.